information you get to understand what your users like is extremely valuable to you. So find out what people care about and do it as cheap as possible. I hear a lot of startups wanting to build the website, then the mobile application, and then a number of other products when they could just start with an online form or a document that would prove out whether or not someone would sign up for something or pay them their first dollar. And for us, we lied a lot about our features. On our website, we made up a lot of things that didn't exist. We told people things exist, things will exist soon when we didn't even start working on it. And this was a way for us to very cheaply validate if we were doing something in the right direction and if people actually cared about what we're doing. And that's what I would actually recommend. Not lying, but finding out what people want and doing it very, very cheaply. And of course, the takeaway there is make something that people want, right? When you think about the challenges in your startup and what you're trying to do, there's nothing more important than creating something that people actually want. It may not be the exact solution that someone wakes up in the morning and tells you about, because if you're doing something innovative, no one's going to tell you about it. But you want to arrive at a solution that answers a real pain and itch that someone has had for a while. And there's nothing more important than that product market fit. Once you get that product market fit, you can mess up on about 80% of everything else in your startup, and you can almost get forgiven if you get the perfect product market fit and people just clamor for what you do. If you can imagine how your product and your business fits into the lives of your users and customers, then you have a good thing going and you can grow it from there. And the one thing I really like to think about is it's a lot better to have a small number of people really, really love what you're doing and a large number of people who only tolerate what you're doing, if they're just okay with it. Because if you have a small number of people who really love what you're doing, you can grow that, right? You can expand that. If you have a large number of people who are just okay with it, it's hard to overcome indifference and apathy. My fourth story is about building the startup itself. After having that product and building the organization and the product itself, or the startup itself, there's nothing more important than that product market fit. It gives you a lot of room to mess up, as I said, and we certainly messed up a lot. The great thing about that is that there's a lot of lessons, advice and lessons out there from people who want to tell you their story and what to get from that. Right? Any old bug can come up and talk to you guys about their silly stories and their lessons. So all that stuff is super, super prevalent out in this ecosystem. The problem is that it's very, very easy to get stuck in listening to too much. There's a lot of hype, there's buzz, there's all this stuff that surrounds you, and you have to be very selective about what's important to you. And for us, I fell into this trap where I felt that I was comparing myself too much to other companies, how big they were, what they were doing, their tactics, what their founder does with their time, and not really focusing on what I wanted to do. There's always news coming out from the tech blogs, right? Someone raises a bunch of money, I'll stop and ask, should I raise a bunch of money? Someone gets acquired, and I'll think about myself and wonder who would want to acquire us. And someone throws a big party with Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z, and I'm wondering what Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z are doing right now, and just get distracted. And it's all about getting stuck in the mindset that there are best practices and a guidebook to pulling off a successful startup. And this book actually exists, unfortunately. But there really isn't a set of rules for you to follow, right? Don't get stuck on best practices. Understand what you need to be doing in your business, and decide for yourself what those things are. So the takeaway here is focus. Ignore the hype around you. Ignore what other people are doing if it's not relevant to your company, and just grow. Don't be in the dark. Understand what's happening in the ecosystem, but take it in stride, right? Understand exactly what it means for you. There's a lot of people who spend too much time thinking about how to be a CEO of a 3-person company, when all you need to do is figure out who your market is, what your product does, and how to grow that. And so my last story is about growth. And growth is what startups are all about. Startups, to me, equal growth. It's not just a new company. If you are a new company that has hyper growth happening, that's a startup. This is the time where people are making mistakes, exploring new ideas, and testing out their hypothesis. So growth is the most important thing for you to be thinking about on day one. It's not stability. It's not making sure things are going smoothly, because things will not go smoothly. If you look at a typical startup process, there's going to be bumps. There's going to be a bunch of troughs. It's just highs and lows along the way. So you really want to be pushing growth as hard as you can. For us, this is the last couple of years of our unique visitors graph. And we've been very fortunate that we've had great sustained growth along the way. But when I say fortunate, I actually mean lucky. We didn't have a grand plan going into it, and for a long time, we didn't even know how we were growing. When we started out, our growth plan was just to build and launch great products. We're going to then somehow magically grow all the numbers. To us, bigger is better. We just wanted to increase every single number we could. I forgot what the third step was. And then we're going to do our party with Jay-Z. So this is not a good plan. And very, very, very soon we realized that we actually needed to understand what was impacting our growth, and if our growth stalled or stopped, how we could retain it. And the problem was that we weren't measuring right. We weren't really measuring at all. So we decided, shit, let's measure everything. Let's just measure every single thing we could, every single possible metric that could impact the company. Let's get it on a dashboard. This was also a mistake because we didn't understand exactly what we needed to pay attention to, invest in, and then reinvest in, because we were looking at too much. The takeaway is that you make what you measure. If you're looking at the right numbers and you pay attention to those things, they're going to grow, right? If you look at the same things every day and you optimize those things, the changes that you want will happen. For us, it took us a couple years to actually refine what was important for us. And it's going to change in a lot of businesses. You're just going to keep refining what exactly the right metrics are going to be. Once we got used to this, we saw all the right things happen. And it's very, very critical for you to know what your levers are in your growth machine. If you know which levers you have under your control, you can push the right buttons and make the right things happen.